and welcome to Stef Talks Trash. My name is Stephanie Valentic, Editorial Director of Waste 360, and today I'm in beautiful but rainy Athens, Ohio. Today, we'll hear from Alyssa Welch from Ohio University's Voinovich School, from Hylie Voss of the Sugarbush Foundation, and from Ed Newman of Rural Action about their work to reduce waste in Athens and Hocking counties. The Appalachia, Ohio Zero Waste Initiative is a multi-year collaboration between these organizations to foster initiatives and activities to contribute to a zero waste economy. Let's hear more from our speakers. Enjoy the show. So thank you once again for joining me today. Can you please start by, giving me a little bit about your background and introduce yourself to everybody who's watching? Ed, if you'd like to start, please.
So I'm Ed Newman. These days I'm the Zero Waste Director at Rural Action. I've been involved with solid waste, as I mentioned a little earlier, since probably the early 1980s. And that was through grassroots that eventually became a public utility in our area. And more recently, there's several entities working on, which we'll speak to, on trying to advance not just solid waste, like disposal and consumption reforms, but with a larger vision of, turning, addressing the environment, but also addressing economic issues, bringing those two often divergent issues together in one camp, in harmony with one another, which is what I really like about working in this field. Is it does that when many issues compete with one another.
Hylie, can you please explain a little bit about the Sugarbush Foundation and its emphasis on partnerships?
It was started in 2005 by my parents, Donna and Mary Ann Flournoy, and they had been lifelong, career-long residents of Athens, Ohio, and my dad was at Ohio University. My mom had been a school teacher in a rural school and then transitioned to the university, but they always stayed very involved with community organizations. And when they knew that they were going to be able to start a foundation, they decided they wanted to do it in such a way that they partnered the resources of the university with the local expertise in the community and put those two together to improve the quality of life and environment in southeastern Ohio. My involvement in zero waste issues started with the Sugarbush Foundation and its initiation of the Zero Waste Initiative. And Ed Newman was on our board from the beginning. Our foundation started in 2005. And from the very beginning, there was conversation on our board about how could we, through funding efforts, stimulate the work of improving our recycling rates and dealing with trying to aim at some zero waste goals. And it led to the partnership between the Voinovich School at Ohio University and Rural Action.
So Alyssa, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Ohio University Voinovich School?
So I'm Alyssa Welch. I work at the Voinovich School at the university, and as Hylie indicated, the Sugarbush Foundation has this amazing model of partnering a university entity with a community partner. And so I got involved with the Zero Waste Initiative back around 2015. And I came to the project with a background in environmental issues, a little more on energy and climate change. But it's one of the interesting parts about, I think, being the Voinovich School partner on this project is that we talk about, we don't, I guess, put parameters on what waste is. We talk about waste as resources, and we talk about a lot of different environmental issues and the impacts that those have in the region. And a lot of those could be characterized as waste, whether that's a history of, acid mine drainage from coal mining or other issues that affect the region. So again, the Voinovich School is bringing in a multidisciplinary perspective on this project. And to your question there, Stephanie, about the project getting started, one of the things that the partners focused on in the very beginning was the development of an action plan. Kind of got their gears up and running, and then mobilized, I think, around 24 different community partners, maybe more, to generate a zero waste action plan that provided the guiding document or the vision for what this project could look like moving forward, what the community really wanted, and how those different pillars or themes could be implemented over the years. So we really, really refer back to that vision initially to help determine what our activities are, where the impact is going to be, and how we all work together to accomplish these circular economy goals.
Before this partnership began in 2010, only 9% of commercial and residential waste in Athens and Hocking counties was recycled. Now, due to the efforts of the Zero Waste Initiative, Athens and Hocking counties divert nearly 30% of their waste, beating Ohio EPA's waste diversion goal of 25%. So before the partnership began, the recycling rate in Athens and Hocking counties was 9%. Can you please tell me about the Appalachian Ohio Zero Waste Initiative and the partnership, the partnerships within it, and also what it does to reduce waste?
I've been with Rural Action Zero Waste for about 1.5 years. So in that respect, I'm a newcomer, but and before that, being on the Sugar Bush board and also working with solid waste at the university and working with the other aspects of it over the years. In the last 11 years, as Alyssa mentioned, one of the first things that took place of a whole host of different projects that were undertaken in the last 11 years was this action plan. And that was getting stakeholders together in the community who are, the recycling center, the city, the university, city representatives, the university, teachers, citizens in the community, solid waste haulers, a whole, there's, I don't know how many people were involved with it. There's probably 60, 100 people involved with it around here. So different things were focused on to ultimately come up with action type items to pursue in the coming years. So that was the foundation of everything else that really took place after that. And then some of the things that occurred there's a whole long list of different things that happened, but some of the things that stand out maybe more recently that came out of it is the Zero Waste Event Productions, which is a group, it's assistance to festivals and events that occur within the communities. They started their work with the likes of the Nelsonville Music Festival and the Pawpaw Festival, who had receptive people in the management of those festivals to assist them to figure out how they can manage tens of thousands of people attending those events to not make waste and to have another positive aspect to those events.
The thing that the Voinovich School at Ohio University and Rural Action have in common with us is that we're all using an asset-based model. If you talk about dealing with waste, if you're looking at it as a problem, it is very easy to look at it as a problem. But then you're trying to figure out what to do with the problem. You want to get rid of the problem. But that is the mentality that we have in our society of away, get it away, push it away, throw it away. But for us, if we have to look at it as an asset, then you have to look at your waste and say, what is there of value, or how can I create value or extract value from that waste? And then that's where the creative thinking comes from. And that's where these ideas of, well, if we could create a small business by cleaning up the events, handling the flow of waste at a festival, and we will be recycling and composting, and at the same time we'll create jobs. We have another one of the rural actions projects that the Sugar Bush is working with is addressing the acid mine drainage that is polluting the streams in our area from abandoned coal mines, and they're learned the technology working with Ohio University professors to precipitate the iron ore out of the water, clean the water, and they can create paint pigments, and that's a business that's being started with a great environmental benefit. So those are the things that we look for in these partnerships, is how to, if we can solve an environmental problem, or as we look at the way we look at it, build on it, turn that into an asset, or look at it as an asset and create jobs at the same time, that's a real win.
Can you please explain a little bit about Southeast Ohio, its economy and resource extraction?
Yeah, we have a history of resource extraction, both in terms of most of the major economic drivers of the past have been resource extraction from the forest. It was a forested area, the timber and coal, and so some of you may be able to speak to it more. So those situations, the big companies come in from outside, they may employ local people, but they take away the resources and then they leave with the profits, and the local people are left without jobs and with the mess to clean up. Alyssa, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would echo that, Hylie. I think that, again, one of the things that's different about this project now is that we're really trying to keep those assets local, and it is different to think about waste as an asset and as a resource and not something that's thrown away, but to trying to keep that local and make lemonade out of lemons is one of the goals of this. And I think also too, Southeast Ohio has been disadvantaged in the past with a lack of investment. And I think that this project and others that are working right now are really generating more attention from investors. You know, we don't fall within the Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati corridor. You know, it's just this own little beautiful, unique area of Ohio. And I think the entrepreneurial spirit is strong in Southeastern Ohio. And so generating that attention about what's possible through investment and through those social enterprises is really one of those changes that we've seen, that we're starting to see over the years, and that the Sugar Bush Foundation is a strong supporter of as well.
Yeah, and I might add, you know, traditionally, as mentioned earlier, Southeast Ohio, you know, it's where settlers came in first, and pretty much it became an area that was primarily coal, oil, gas, and timber, and more recently, it's been a sacrifice area for waste from other areas because there's less people here and less political resistance, and so we're trying to shift that to, you know, if people are going to bring in stuff from far away, to bring in materials that we can value add and turn back into commodities that can go back out into the environment, perhaps, or what we're generating here the same way, rather than just disposing of it and using a damaged landscape to be more damaged by using it as a receptacle for waste. We're still a big importer of waste from New York and New England and other parts of the country, as well as fracking waste. And so we're trying to utilize these materials differently than just being a sacrifice area. So it seems, you know, like a big, it's a big job, but there are ways to make an impact on that, and that's where we're concentrating our energies.
So Ed, how is Rural Action implementing better use of natural resources in the area?
So over the years, this, as I mentioned earlier, there's this grassroots recycling effort that ended up becoming a public utility locally and was helping buffer our community from the importation of waste that was filling up our landfills and increasing our costs. And it also helped us divert these materials back into the economy instead of just burying them here. So that was creating jobs in the collection and the processing of them. One of the things we want to get a lot better at is turning these things back into commodities and services and employment opportunities, and jobs and tax base and money circulating in our community rather than just leaving the area. So that's what we've been more concentrating on lately. So like as I mentioned, this service of event waste production, zero waste event productions, was one form of doing that. As Hylie mentioned earlier, turning mining waste that leaches into our waterways and makes them uninhabitable for the biotic community. We're removing some of these toxic material, that project is removing toxic materials out of those streams and turning them the iron oxide that's in it, which creates some of the acidity, into a commodity that is a positive thing, and it's cleaning the water and it's making it more habitable for fish and other plants and animals, and making a healthier environment, and a healthier environment means a healthier place for us to live. So there's all these little projects that are being planted, you might say, and are growing in their ability to make an impact, and are merging together in some respects here and there. So we go out into communities and try to look where we can work together with people in the communities to make some of these things happen. Some of the things my program does also is we go out and we work with businesses to figure out how they can make reductions in their waste and save some money and market themselves better to their customers at the same time. And almost like a certification process that they go through to not make waste or to divert their waste, and to and have and are appreciated by people in the community who recognize that they're doing that thing. We're also more recently we've started collecting materials other than the usual recyclable commodities, where we're going after things like mattresses and rechargeable batteries, textiles, medical supplies and equipment. You'd be surprised how much of that stuff is out there, and some other things that we're collecting at these what we're calling these mobile charm collection events. CHARM is an acronym for Center for Hard to Recycle Materials. And we're looking to also set up a hub at our local recycling center to handle all these and other materials. And we're finding that when we work with communities to set up those things, and it's relatively inexpensive to do this and easy to set up, that it helps us engage with them in other ways that we weren't engaging with them before, like working with their businesses, teaching them how to compost, we want to work with other parts of Southeast Ohio to also benefit from this zero waste action planning that was championed 10 years ago, that did a great job for our community in figuring out what we need to do to make some advances in consumption and disposal reforms. So now we're finding that that's a vehicle for us to go out into other aspects, other areas of Southeast Ohio, and work with some of the champions that are out there doing their little thing, and connect up with them and create a synergy with working with them to get more to happen. So that's a pretty exciting outcome of it that's emerging here lately.
Ohio University, a collegiate institution with an undergraduate enrollment of around 20,000 students, is also working with AOZWI to divert more than 90% of its waste from landfills through composting, reduction, and recycling. So I can't go through this conversation without really mentioning Ohio University and the impact of student move in and move out. There's undergraduate class of 20,000 students, and each semester you have this process of mattresses and couches and different things that students are throwing out. What's this partnership doing with the university to help move this process along?
Good question. So when I was working there, each year, there's 42 residence halls there. There's about 8,000 students living on campus, and they're recycling out the older mattresses every year and replacing them. And at first, what are we going to do with all these mattresses? It's expensive to get rid of them. They're bulky, and eventually we were finding places we can send them. There was several different organizations that we were able to work with to take the mattresses, to either dismantle them and recycle them or rebuild them, or even get them to NGOs in other countries who could use them. More recently, a local outfit, entrepreneur, you might say, has been taking an interest in mattresses and is recycling them in Nelsonville. So we're trying to work with them to channel all the mattresses we can get to them. Between Ohio University and Move Out at the end of the year, when there's a mass exodus of like 14,000 students leaving our small little town and leaving all these materials behind. So we're coming up with ways to deal with these materials in ways other than disposal as trash, and maybe even help people save some money and create an enterprise around it to just dismantle these things and recycle these items. In some places around the country, they even bring mattresses down to its basic skeleton of springs and wire and rebuild around it again and then sell that. So maybe we could even get to that point with that particular enterprise. As you know too, Move Out is a huge pulse of materials that is generated in food and goods, that probably 80% or more of the waste that is generated during that few weeks when everybody's leaving town. Where if we, coming up with a way to capture and divert all those materials to markets and to people in need in our local communities has been a bit of a challenge. And so over the years, we've been gradually improving on that process.
So now that the Appalachia Ohio Zero Waste Initiative has been around for 11 years, what does the future look like for you in the next, 5 to 10 years?
Building on what Ed's been saying, that, I think over the course of this 10, 11 years, we've been working together and working with these partners across the community and across the region at Ohio University. We've got fantastic partners with our Office of Sustainability and Campus Recycling that help us change those institutional policies and practices on campus as well. It's really a snowball effect of this partnering. The more we're partnering, the more we kind of are growing those goals and activities together and opening up those new doors that Ed was talking about to new initiatives. And I think that's been really exciting. So in this next phase that we're starting with the Zero Waste Initiative, really focusing on the partnership developments, those regional advocates to help us grow this umbrella of activities, focusing on how we institutionalize these policies for sustainability at big institutions like Ohio University, also at businesses across the community, like Ed was talking about with the Zero Waste Business Pledge, and then also growing these social enterprise economic opportunities to help the community. That's kind of those are the themes that we're hoping will carry forward here based on the experience that we've had, and seeing how those activities can, again, build on each other and bring in new material streams, bring in new partners, bring in new activities, and help us kind of transition our activities and our goals along with where some of that new energy lies.
I also want to talk more about partnerships too. This type of thing is enabled us to have partnerships with, for example, the city of Chillicothe. They were watching what we have been doing here and took courage and took a big step to rolling out curbside recycling in their city. And we were able to fund a partnership with the OU's Chillicothe campus and the mayor's office in Chillicothe. And now we also have a partnership with the Zero Waste Initiative, having placed a position in the mayor's office in Athens, Ohio, to help them just have more bandwidth for working towards their sustainability goals. So those kind of partnerships can be with our local governments as well.
Well, it seems like after 10, 11 years of doing this, we're really starting. I feel like we're getting our stride now and getting ready to take it to the next level. So I'm really energized by, what a great job this is, I mean, we work hard to do this, and sometimes, and the work is pretty daunting, especially these days with all the challenges coming down the pike from state and national and global. So to make some great headway in an area that traditionally, is thought of as kind of the bastard stepchild of where you think progress would be, is really energizing and exciting. And I think you're gonna hear more about what's going on over here, because we're coming up with some good examples for others to emulate. And that's so check back with us.
Thank you once again for joining me for this episode of Stef Talks Trash. For this and other episodes, please visit waste360.com. Have a great day.